Hi, welcome to Studio 14. I'm Ginny Sawyer, and with me today are two folks from Utilities who are here to share some more detail about our climate action plan and the kind of actions that we can take as a community to help achieve those goals. So first, Travis Page, our Community Engagement Manager. Travis, thanks for being here.
Hey, Jenny, thanks for having me.
And Lucas Moutet, our Customer Accounts Manager.
Thanks, Jenny.
Lucas, thanks for being here. So let's just start with the big picture. We hear it a lot, climate action plan. Do you want to give us a little background on what do we mean when we talk about that?
Sure. So our Road to 2020 is our transitional bridging language that we're using to get from our climate action plan that began in 1999 and is really focused on how we move from the planning process into the actual process of making changes to behaviors and changes to policies and procedures so that we can reduce those greenhouse gas emissions in our inventory in the community.
So we set some big lofty goals.
We have some big
But
goals.
now we're really talking about how do we get there, and we're not going to get there all in one step, but baby steps.
We certainly won't get there all in one step, and it will take many, many steps
Many
to get there. And those steps are really kind of the essence of those steps are really actions and behaviors that we need to take as a community to get to those lofty goals.
Okay, so community part of get engaging. Lucas, you're really working with the businesses, and how does that translate?
Absolutely. So, we work with a great business community here in Fort Collins. We have very diverse businesses that work in all kinds of industries, from retail to manufacturing. And, some of the businesses have fully embraced the climate action plan since the beginning and have incorporated those goals into their planning. And other businesses are really looking for ways that they can be involved. While some businesses are just wanting to rely on us for reliable service like they always have. And so we're trying to understand that balance between all those businesses and give them actions, rebates, incentives that they can take to help the community move towards our goals.
So as a whole, whether an individual or a business, I don't envy you guys, we're trying to meet people anywhere along that spectrum that they are to help with tiny actions to reach the lofty goals. Is that an accurate statement?
And they're not all tiny actions.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, and some, for homeowners, those actions can range from something that's simple and easy to do, but that doesn't necessarily mean tiny, to something that's, pretty intensive, maybe takes a little bit longer to get done and shows more results. Same with businesses. They can similarly replace some light bulbs, upgrade some of their equipment, and all the way to completely designing buildings and running them as efficiently as possible, saving thousands and thousands of kilowatt hours worth of energy every year.
As they go. So that's the business side. On the community side, what are you seeing as some of the challenges and some of the wins?
Some of the challenges are that as we look at really adopting the things that it takes to get to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and really aim at achieving those goals, it does push some people out of comfort zones. It does ask that you change behaviors that maybe are long behaviors that you've held, and there are also a range of actions, like Lucas mentioned, from small, that might be replacing a few lamps in your home, to a little bit larger, where you're looking at replacing HVAC systems or really doing some deep retrofits to your home that causes you to use energy in a more conservative manner. So there's again, we're meeting people along that whole continuum.
Right.
But as we look at the goals that we have to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and we look at the programs that Utilities has set up, there's really a way for many, if not all, people in our community to interact with those programs and help support the cause.
So that's kind of the exciting part, I think.
Yeah.
Because you do have this range, and this is part of why I was glad you guys were going to be able to get here today, because for me, homeowner, 1911 house, it's kind of challenging. I can change some light bulbs.
You have lots of opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. And I do want to get to do those little things really add up and make a difference?
They do. They do, and I think the great thing is that you've invited us here today. Lucas and I like to take a little bit of maybe a little more of a wacky approach to showing you how to do these things, and we really like to show you how we can bust some of those myths that you might have in your home about what saves energy and what doesn't.
And what doesn't?
Including, are these small steps really going to make a difference? And we'll show you that the small steps, they can add up to a lot.
All right. Stay tuned just a moment. We're going to come back and we're going to see some of this myth busting. Welcome back. We're talking about easy actions that people can actually do in their homes or in their business on a larger scale that could make an action towards our climate action goals. So what do we have here?
What we have here is a couple light bulbs. Can you turn them on, Jenny?
I will. What's that one?
That's a
That's
40
a
watt.
light bulb. That's a light bulb.
That's a light bulb.
Okay.
It's a 40-watt incandescent light bulb. This is the originally designed kind of by Thomas Edison. A filament gets heated up by electricity, emits light. That's what we've had
Very
in
common
our
light
houses
bulb.
for 100 years.
Okay. Ding. What's
Not
that
this
one?
specific bulb, but bulbs like this in your house for 100 years.
Right.
Because they typically last how long?
They typically last a few years at kind of an average level of average
Use.
in your kitchen, in your living room, where you're using a bulb on a regular basis.
Okay. Now this one.
That's an LED bulb. So LED bulbs use a diode that emits light, but doesn't really emit much heat like these bulbs do. And LED bulbs are has been made for the last 10 years or so. Really, in the last few years, you've seen them coming around to look just like incandescent bulbs. They can replace those bulbs in your kitchen, your living room, your bathroom.
Put them anywhere you've got a bulb.
Exactly. They make them just to pull out the old one and replace it with a new one like those.
All right.
Lucas said light emitting diode. That's what LED stands for. So
ha.
if you didn't know that, you do now.
Really, they're both like magic to me. I have no
They
idea.
are.
So
They are somewhat magical, which is pretty cool. So.
okay, so what do we have? What are we going to look
So what we were kind of thinking about was, as far as myths go, or reasons people, do or do not take actions that save energy, is a lot of people don't replace their incandescent bulbs because they think, well, they're going to burn out a little bit, and I'll just replace it when it burns out.
I think it's wasteful.
at?
Right.
They still work. Why would I throw it away?
Absolutely, and we kind of came up with this when I showed Travis a picture of my bathroom one time, and it had a different generation of light. Like every 5 years, I've replaced a light, and all the way back to the old ones. And I was holding out, not wanting to replace it. And then we did the math, and we figured out, well, maybe this doesn't make sense. So what we want to show here is a couple of things with these two lights sitting side by side. They're both going through meters that show how many watts they're using. And then I've got a little infrared camera that we can look at how much heat they're putting out.
Okay, so for starters, let's start here.
So let's show the watts. Jenny, if you want to lift that one up so we can just show a comparison here. So what this device is, it's called a kilowatt hour meter. It's just a residential device that you can get and you can plug in and then plug an appliance in to see what kind of wattage it's using. So this is set to watts right now. This is our LED bulb over here. It's pulling 8.7 watts currently.
Compared to 39.
Our 40 watt bulb pulling 40 watts. So it's nice that the 40 watt bulb pulls something close to 40.
Yeah.
If it was pulling something other than that, we would probably be concerned.
Right.
I think.
And what you can't quite tell here is that this light is actually a 60 watt equivalent. This light is actually putting out a little bit more light, actual lumens, than this light
Than
is
the
here.
40.
So they're not quite apples to apples, but even still, it's a stark comparison.
This is an
Drastically.
aside, but can't you check these out at the library and take them to your house? And
You actually can check them out at the library.
Okay.
And there's also another thing that you can check out at the library that will allow you to look at your usage, and it works with our AMI system. So that's available.
Okay,
For,
and then you could see your refrigerator, dishwasher, you could go through
you
the whole
can
thing.
see the whole usage of the home, actually.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
do
this device looks at one thing that's plugged into
One
it,
thing at a time.
whereas the other meters that work with the AMI meters on your home show the entire house and how everything's running. So you can actually see when the fridge kicks on or when you turn on the dryer. It's pretty fun.
Definitely doing that.
It's really interesting to see how many watts each device pulls. And the other really fun thing with those devices is to try to turn off everything that you normally turn off, say at night, and see what the meter goes down to. And that's more or less kind of the phantom load of the
Right.
house of things like DVRs and accessory lights or other things that are just running
Something
in the
that
house
stays
all the time.
plugged in and it
Exactly.
might not be on, but it's still drawing.
Exactly, ready for it to be turned on or on
So-
in standby.
Okay.
So phantom load is something that you should be terrified of
Sounds
because
scary.
you don't know it's happening, but it's there. So it's just an opportunity for you to look at making a difference. So Lucas, these have been on for a while.
Yeah.
Is it getting hot in here,
They?
or is it just me?
Getting hot.
It's getting hot, especially over on this side. Let's see. So I've got my IR infrared camera here, so I'm going to turn it around and look at these two bulbs, and you can see on there one bulb is really lit up red, and the other one is still kind of a pink. And what this is showing is that this bulb over here is about 150, somewhere between 150 and 200 degrees, and this bulb over here is still right about 100 degrees, or the temperature of skin. You can actually look at, see, it's a little bit warmer than, hold your hand up to there again, Jenny. You can actually, Jenny's cold hands
Your hands are
awfully blue.
freezing.
But the kind of put your hand like this, you can see color-wise, it's about the same color as Ginny's wrist, so it's about body temperature, whereas this one is showing that wider mark shows that it's much hotter. So what's happening here is that, especially in the summertime, you're running incandescent bulbs, you're paying more because they take more electricity, and then on top of that, in the summertime, you actually have to cool your home
Heating
more
up your house.
because you're heating your house up. And so your cooling system, your air conditioner has to run even more to cool that down.
Plus, it seems dangerous. I don't want to touch that really hot bulb.
You
People
probably
can't- people
shouldn't.
can't get
Not that I
burned.
won't always be touching
But check
bulbs,
this
but-
out. I'm touching the LED.
Are you touching it?
And it's no problem. Sure, go ahead.
Wow.
Don't do that to the. That's
No.
Right, yeah, that would be,
pretty hot.
you'll blister, for
Okay,
sure,
yeah.
for sure.
Won't do
So,
that.
so what's the myth that we're trying to get to? We're trying to get to a question of I've got LEDs in my house, or I've got incandescents in my house.
They work
Should
fine.
They work fine.
Right.
They've been there for a while.
Right?
I saw some LEDs on sale at the store. Should I buy them or not?
Right, so just purely energy-wise, for the cost of the energy to run the bulbs,
The
if you have a-
39 versus the 8.
Yeah, and typically incandescent bulbs are gonna last a few years. So if you're a couple years into that bulb and you're waiting for it to die, say you've got a year left on it, in that time you're gonna pay about $2.50 more to run this incandescent bulb than you are to run this LED bulb. So if you replace it, you've kind of got $2.50 in the bank to pay for a bulb, and you can literally go, because of the rebates that we help at Home
right.
Depot and Lowe's, locally here in Fort Collins, you can go into a Lowe's or Home Depot, Ace Hardware, any of those that we help with partial funding for the LED bulbs, and buy a bulb for around that same price. So it does make sense. And in addition to that, you don't have this heating up your house in the summertime.
Right.
And so, yeah, purely cost-wise, it makes sense to replace incandescents before
Yeah.
they die.
Lifespan too. Lifespan on LEDs, you're talking about 8 to 10 years in some cases. Lifespans generally on incandescents is a few years, depending on use. But
Didn't you say you had one outside that you've had on forever?
I have had one outside. I do leave it on pretty consistently, and it's been outside for about 3 years. Yeah.
It's pretty
So
awesome.
that is good. Yeah.
So-
All right, so that's light
that's-
bulbs.
So that's light bulbs.
That is good. Should I
So
turn
we
these
have
off?
We have, yeah, you can turn those off. So we have another little demonstration here, and this is my shop vac. It came from my house.
It's really clean, isn't it?
Travel
and
with it all the time.
I do like to do things in the garage that causes the garage to be a mess, and so some of these. This is an actual working shop vac, but what Lucas and I wanted to talk with you about is that some folks think that there is a mythical piece of their house that they don't really need to pay any attention to, and that mythical piece of their house is the furnace filter.
Oh, that's in my creepy crawl space. I never go down there.
It's in most people's creepy crawl spaces, but the thing is that it's a vital piece of your home that really is responsible for making sure that your home has clean air, and you kind of have that healthy home thing going on that the city wants to support, and also it allows your HVAC system continue to properly work, to clean the air, heat the air, cool the air in the different seasons. So I guess the myth is that once you move into a house, you never have to check that HVAC filter. and
not a best practice.
we'd like to show you why maybe you shouldn't do that.
All right,
So,
let's see.
Yeah, even though there's a lot of advice out there on changing out the filter on a regular basis, I changed mine out last night, and it was pretty dirty, and just it was a good reminder to me that it was I need to do it. I like to buy them in the 3-packs, put a few under the utility sink right next to it, so it's easy to change out on a regular
It's
basis.
right there.
And it is pretty simple. So what we've got here is, again, it's my shop vac. I'm going to show you the inside because you're going to be disgusted.
Disgusting.
This is the inside.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a working shop
We
vac.
need to change that filter.
I'm glad it's not on my furnace. What we're going to do is I've reversed this, so it's actually not doing the vacuum part anymore. Now it's actually doing it's blowing. The motor's using to blow,
We're going in reverse.
much like your HVAC system is. It's set to blow through the ducts in your house, and it moves the air around. So to show this, I just need one more thing. Do you have a surgical glove by any chance?
I think
wait,
I
no,
might have
never
just
mind.
run out. Do you?
There's
there's
just
perfect.
so happened
Have
that-
I'm glad you
surgical
did.
glove.
Never leave the
will
house
travel.
without it.
Yep.
Want me to hold that?
So yeah, Jenny, why don't you hold this, and I'm going to just put this here.
All right, we're going to blow this up.
I'm going to hold
again.
that, and I'm going to have Lucas flip that switch to green.
All right, here we
We're
go.
going to show you
set,
what
go.
So this is what happens on a dirty filter.
dirty filter,
Yep.
filter's on, and we're ready to see what the air filter looks
Okay.
like.
Not bad. Hey,
Give me
not
5.
bad.
Give me 5.
Hey,
All right.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you got something right about there. There you go. There you go.
always good. It's always good. Okay, you can shut that off now, Lucas. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to have you hold on to that there,
Okay.
Jenny. Now what we're going to do is we're going to simulate something. Now this isn't exactly the same thing, but I'm going to do the best that I can not to make a horrible mess. I'm going to let Lucas do that. And we're going to pretend like what's on here now is a clean filter.
Okay.
So it's not exactly what it would look like, but the idea is to show that a clean filter or an unobstructed motor is
See how
going
much
to run
bigger this
differently.
hand gets.
So what the thought is that it's going to do something different to this glove. So I'm going to hold the glove,
Okay.
clean filter.
All right.
Lucas is going to flip our
Ready?
switch.
Let's go.
And that's what happens when dust flies all over.
Hey, there's a little bit of dust in your shop vac.
There is some dust in there. Which
That's
is
some
actually
efficiency.
a good explanation of why you shouldn't run your HVAC system without a filter completely, because it then moves dust all over your house. So it is actually by changing your fuel filter, by changing your air filter, you're actually saving somewhere between 5 to 10% efficiency in your home. So just by changing that filter out and getting into that, what'd you call it, an icky?
Creepy crawl space.
Creepy crawl space, just by doing that, you're able to impact your usage and help support those goals that we have for a climate action plan.
All right, maybe I'll pursue that. So this is great. So these are real life, tangible things that,
Simple.
I mean, I'm just trying to think. We probably have 62,000 households
Somewhere around there.
in the community. So if even half did some of these things, I see why it adds up.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're simple. It just takes kind of a routine idea that you want to get it done. And everybody has busy lives. I understand that with kids and schools and work and all that kind of stuff. But you can set yourself up for success by buying extra LED bulbs in they bank them in 4-packs now.
When they're on sale.
Yep.
When they're on sale, and then you can just keep them in the closet and replace them as you go. And you can also buy furnace filters in the 3-packs and keep a couple extras and make sure you put them in. And there's great tools now to remind you of when to replace your furnace filters and things like that. So
Talking about an app.
There's
apps.
probably an app for that.
There's a lot of thermostats in homes now.
that will
Actually,
do
can
that.
tell you. Yep.
Oh, okay.
If you have one of those little Google Home or Alexa devices, they can remind you at certain times as well. And there's lots of cool ways to do it.
Awesome. So if people want to learn more, whether it's home or business, they're interested in rebates or help or whatever that is, Conserve, fcgov.com.
fcgov.com, conserve.
Conserve.
That's a great place to start.
Okay.
And after you can look through there for rebates, incentives. Like we've talked about, there's a
Tips.
lot of things in the store already that we're discounting. But then you can find rebates on dishwashers, clothes washers, refrigerator recycling. all the way up to businesses replacing, warehouses full of lights or cooling towers, and everything in between.
Awesome.
There's a lot of options, but we like to help people kind of start small. And the best way to get started on a lot of these things is just to kind of make an assessment.
Yeah.
You can do that at home by just looking at what light bulbs you have, looking at your furnace filter. We can also come to your home with an inspector and assessor, and the assessor can look at what the insulation looks like, the lighting looks like, the heating cooling system.
That whole energy audit
Absolutely,
kind of thing
yep.
to look at.
And it opens up the door to more rebates and incentives. We have a similar track on the business side where we do an assessment first of the business and the facility energy and water usage, and really help.
Does it matter what size the business is?
It doesn't. From
Okay,
the
so
smallest
any-
business to the largest.
Or
Great.
the house.
Or the house, okay.
Yep.
And as we mentioned when we were talking, there's that range of comfort that someone says, I don't feel comfortable doing the extreme things, or I want to do something more than the easy stuff. The great thing is that all of the options that we have there give that variety scaled to
Yep.
what you feel comfortable with.
Right.
And so on top of the programs and on top of the incentives and on top of the other things that we have available, there's also just a host of information and tips for you to do things just like what we did today.
Fun. Well, you guys, thanks so much for being here.
Awesome.
This was a fun show. Good to
Thanks for
know, and
having
I'm
us.
definitely going to do some of these things. So,
And we got you this gift. It's our
Souvenir.
And
it's
wait,
our souvenir glove.
There's also a dirty shop vac filter.
and it's
that's going.
and
You're taking home.
This is your
I get to
gift.
take that. All right, so thanks for joining us at Studio 14 today. Please check out fcgov.com/conserve and look for ways that you can save money, save energy, and plug into our overall community climate goals. Thanks.